Does anybody use Moulage currently in their scenarios? Yes? No?
No.
You like me there? What do you think Moulage, which is from the French term, is to cast or to make a wound for training? What do you think it can add to your scenario?
Reality.
Yeah. In what way?
Well, blood and guts kind of thing, if it's an ED or if you're in maternity, maybe.
Yeah.
We're just discussing, you know, drenched sanitary towels in a patient who's got a hypovolemic shock after a abdominal hysterectomy, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a visual thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It brings in those visual clues that the mannequins can't give you, and also it helps the student engage in the scenario rather than sort of saying, oh, we'll go in and see Mary, she's broken her leg and she's laying there like this. You might think, okay, you go in and, you know, we've made her a little bit sweaty and she's obviously got a bandage on her leg or her leg's elevated or there's some paperwork or something on the board to suggest that she's broken her leg, then you're far more likely to sort of buy into that situation. What do you think the benefits are of using a mannequin over using what we would call, Sarah's going to be my simulated patient? We might be very happy in our creations, but they may be very confronting to somebody who is not used to seeing any sort of bodily emissions, for want of a better phrase, or not used to seeing wounds, or maybe used to seeing wounds but not on somebody that they actually care about. That can be quite confronting. We sort of say the main ones are is that they're never going to turn them sick. They tend to have less allergies. You can expose them a lot more. And that they're not going to say, you finished yet?
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to want to go for a toilet break if you're doing like a big moulage. On the mannequins, because they don't have any sort of surface oil, when you're trying to blend your colours in especially, they tend to drag more than blend, so it can take a little longer to make a good simulated wound or effect on your mannequin as it can be on a simulated patient. Yeah, and obviously you've got to clean them off a little bit later. So they tend not to have oils on the skin, but then, dear me, they like to suck up all the pigments. So we tend to use the Arc Orange, isn't it? Or the Sard Wonder Soap's absolutely brilliant. Or if you get a particularly ingrained piece of dirt, you can use the little Clearasol pimple cream. That's got some hydrogen peroxide in that helps sort of bleach that pigment out.
Yes, yeah.
And also if you've been making simulated smells, that's really good as a little air freshener. And you can buy that just at any of the proprietary supermarkets. And the Sard Wonder Soap, it's just, I don't know what's in it, it's magic stuff, but it's absolutely brilliant for getting rid of pigments off the mannequin.
Did you say Clearasol as well?
Yeah, Clearasol sort of pimple cream, yeah. Or a little bit of whitening toothpaste as well, a little toothbrush, just in they tend to collect in the little creases where the arms are.
And be careful with using food products because you can't get mold and mildews if you don't clean it quickly enough.
Yeah. I found that out. After about 6 months I thought, I'm going to make loads of blood. Labelled it all up, put it in the cupboard, I went back and it was just like slug. Okay, maybe not then, I'll just make it on the day. How's that? Okay. I also found out just by going on YouTube and Googling things, how to make our mannequins a little bit older. So, without any further ado, I've heard lots of chatter about these false cannula malarkeys.
Yeah.
They're my favourite. It was the first thing I ever learned to do here, and I've been obsessed with them ever since. And you can take one home with you. You don't have to make one, you can have to make it. I just think that's absolutely brilliant. Okay, so when you open your giving set, it's a normal Baxter giving set. We're not affiliated to any companies or any product, because we think we do have a disclaimer in the end. One of the main things you'll notice is there's no micron filter, and that's the most important thing because you can't get anything back past the micron filter. So it's just a straightforward giving set with one injection port and one little what we call roller port. So all you need to do is on where the injection port is, it's going to screw into the cannula. Just tie a little knot in it. Okay, so now what happens is this little blue bit, that now becomes your cannula. So when you inject any simulated drugs or fluid in there, the fluid will go down to the knot and then get forced back all the way up. And as long as you remember to open your roller clamp, it'll just drain straight into the bag. I'm just going to put this on Miss Sarah. I've not got enough Cowan. Apologies to anybody with infection control experience. Without me Cowan in my cannulas up. Vet wrap, yeah, because the vets use it.
It's not cheap, is it?
No, it's not. It's not cheap. It comes in lots of different colours. But like I say, it can be quite restrictive, and I didn't realise it was doing it when it strangulated somebody's arm.
Oh, they're great.
Obviously, we'd thread this up the mannequin's claws, or we tend to just pop it over the end of the bed, and there's hooks under your bed or your trolley, and we just hang it up there. Can let go in. Again, apologies to infection control. I would normally swap things. Jesus, I'm trying to see you and taught me bad habits. Yep.
So you don't even have a cannula as such?
Nope.
No, it's, yeah, it's just
the
that
board.
part top.
And it's all in a contained circuit.
Yeah.
If you can go to theatre and get the 3 litre irrigation bag, it's brilliant because you can do a massive trauma, or you can do sim after sim after sim, and everything's included in there.
Urology.
It's just really good for just saying, oh, you know, I'm going to give drugs, I'm going to give fluids, and it just really adds that extra sort of dimension to it. And as you can see, it's piddling in. If for some reason you find your false cannula doesn't work, you might have wrapped it too tightly, or you might have got it right in the little mannequin's armpit. Or what we normally find is we turn this off to empty the bags, obviously because it's still free flowing unless you turn your fluid off, and then we forget to turn it back on, and then like, it's cannula's tissue, and we have to do a little bit of jiggery pokery about in the bed. Any questions? They're all there to give you some gum.
Very impressed. Very clever.
And we just say that it's a 14 gauge cannula because you can get lots and lots of fluid in there. We did find when we did actually cannulate a couple of times, we could only get small sort of pink, the 20 gauge cannulas in, and then if you're doing a fluid rhesus or something, you can't get an awful lot of fluid in there. You can only really run one infusion, so it was a bit less than satisfactory, I think. So I'm just going to make Sarah up. It's having a bruise on her arm. So just while I get my bits out, I'm just going to, please don't spray these because they're evil and they don't come out the carpet. This one's Tex S spray, which is supposed to smell like poop. This one is called Perfume. You don't have to smell it if you don't want to. It just adds that extra layer to it.
You can just take the top off and
yeah. Whiskey essence, if you want to do anybody who's a little bit intoxicated.
So we provide auditory, visual, and tactile cues.
Yeah.
Oh, so it smells like.
Oh, yeah, that's stale as well.
Yeah, if we're doing a scenario with an old lady, we'll quite often put old lady perfume on her, frosted blue eyeshadow. Old gentlemen, you know, we'll go to the $2 shop and get some old scruffy clothes and get some really out-of-date aftershave. So apart from our false cannula, I'm just going to show you one of our other favourite little tricks.
Yeah. Don't do it again.
Sorry. This is one of our favourites. This is called, this is Graftopian Magic Blood Powder.
Sorry?
It's made by a company called Graftopian, and it's magic blood powder.
Oh, I thought you said love powder.
I can do it with that if you want. So it just goes on as like a mauvey colour, and then we just add some. This is just if we know somebody's around the corner and want a tour.
Great for Halloween as well.
And we just add water to it. And the pigments blend with the water and just produce blood, and then the deeper or the more sort of blood you put on, or more powder. This does stain, so I do apologise. But if you wanted to do a wound beforehand or the night before, or some sort of moulage the night before, then have it bleeding just on the day, you could do that to save time, and then just pop this on.
And on the actual plastic of the mannequins,
It does stain a bit, but what you can do is put Tegaderm on or Glad Wrap, and that just provides like a protective barrier.
so you could put the Tegaderm on or the Moulage and then the powder
Put that
on
on,
top.
yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
cool.
We
Is
try
this
to.
stuff that the Sard Wonder soap would get
Yeah,
rid
it
of?
would eventually, but it does
Okay.
stain a bit, and we tend to get more. Ooh, if it's on a real patient, if it's on a real person. Sorry, Sarah. You should be there all day now. So anything to do with blood seems to excite people, doesn't it? Which is really good. We also use this. It's called E-nose powder, which is just an antacid remedy. We use this quite a lot. If you sprinkle it on burns, simulated burns, and then put water on it, it'll actually fizzle up like acid burns. And it's really good for simulated vomit or organophosphate poisoning in a person. In the middle of a scenario, you can just sort of go, shovel it in and then just go. And it's all green and frothy, but just bear in mind if it dries on your face and in your hair, you're going to be crispy all day and you're going to be burping all day. But it's really good, and it can be, you can use a tiny bit for bile as well. Okay. It doesn't have to be expensive, the makeup you use. It doesn't have to be proprietary brands or anything like that. The $2 shop is my husband thinks I'm a fair man in the $2 shop. I'm always in there, but you can get this. It's called Vampire Blood, and it's $2, and a little bit lasts a long time. This is edible as well, so if you wanted to put it in a gelatin capsule or something, you can actually, like we did to Chris the other day, bashed him in my thumb, and he bit into this and started bleeding. I was referred to as the feral circus, wasn't I? It's very rude. So if you're going to put any moulage on your mannequin, try and use just a sort of cheap lanolin cream or sorbolene cream or whatever. It just gives you that little bit of sort of smoother coverage. And then I've got some various devices up here that you can mix and match with. Look at you. We call simulation the curse of the pink paw.
I'm going to do it on the side.
So when you're making a bruise, what sort of things are you looking at? We're sort of thinking colour-wise, impact-wise.
Depends on what it is.
Yeah. Because what is a bruise at the end of the day?
Blood.
Yeah, blood collecting under the skin. So if it's a new bruise, quite often you'll find the immediate area of impact is quite white, and then you'll start to get red around it, and then it'll just get redder and bluer and purple, and then more sort of green and yellow as it starts to fade out. It's always easy to start with not a lot, and then add on. It's harder to take it off, if you know what I mean. I'm just going to sort of dab around the edges.
Is this face paint or
This is
proper makeup?
it's it's what's called a trauma wheel. But you can, if you go to like the cheap shops, you can quite often just get some cheap eyeshadows or whatever. It doesn't have to be all this posh stuff. We got this posh stuff as part of our trading brand.
Are the cheap eyeshadows and things like that safe to use on the mannequins?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you've just got to be careful if you're making moulage up on I'll say a real person, that they don't have any allergies, especially to latex, because some of the blending sponges have latex in. And if you're doing anything with the face, give them a little mirror so they can just check, just so they're not sort of thinking, it's a bit mean, Alison, when they look into it, especially if you're making somebody up as like domestic abuse or something like that. So it's just green and yellow on the outside. Yeah, thank you. I've put them in a special place. That's special. I've forgotten to bring them out. Yeah. And obviously, if somebody gets pale and sweaty or uncomfortable, we stop straight away and just take the moulage off. I'll just start on the outside. Going to go in. This is sort of a couple of days old bruise. But anybody that has a joint replacement or is on any kind of blood thinners gets spectacular bruises so easily. You just have to sneeze, don't you? And then they're like whack, a big bruise. And then where the sort of the main impact was, or the main sort of force of the trauma, that's where you want to sort of darken your colours off a bit. And again, like we said before, we might think our creations are fantastic, but you know, they may upset somebody. So if we are doing somebody up, then we'll sort of let everyone in the area know, in the sim centre say, you know, just going to put some bruises on Sarah just in case they come in unexpectedly. Okay, so that's a reasonably realistic bruise, would you say? And then you can put your blood on top of it if you want, or you can put scabs on, or whatever. How to make a bruise, I've got instructions, like laminated instructions, and how to make a burn. It's actually in the back of the thing. I'll just do a burn on the skin, on tegaderm, because tegaderm, if you don't have to put it on perfectly, but you know when your skin's sort of like really tight and it sort of wrinkles, it just gives that little wrinkly impression underneath. But mainly, I'm just doing this because it's easier to take off.
And if you're careful when you remove it, you can actually reuse it and
Yeah,
stick it on
same
again.
This is just some casualty simulation wax, but I did put a recipe in that you can use petroleum jelly and rice flour. And you can just add in your own colour pigments, like if you've got some really cheap foundation or foundation that's out of date or the wrong colour, you can just use that to add in to make it your own skin colour. I'm just going to melt a little bit of the wax in. You alright then?
Isn't that good for Halloween?
Oh, it's fantastic for Halloween.
Sorry,
Sorry?
glass powder for the simulation wax.
Yeah, you can make it out of petroleum jelly, just a tiny bit of petroleum jelly, and just keep adding in either rice flour or talcum powder or something. And it just ends up being a thick paste just like this. But if somebody was allergic to beeswax, which is what this is made out of, it's, you know, you can use something less allergenic. Sarah and I are allergic to wheat flour, so we don't have any in the centre. We tend to use rice flour or talcum powder or something. Burns aren't perfect, so what I'm doing is just sort of building up a little layer along the outside. So when all the colours are in and the shading's in, it's going to look like it's more 3D. So as you saw on Little Nana there, anything that's dark will recede in the background, anything that's light will come to the foreground. And anything Botoxed will look like the tegaderm. This is a bit sticky, so if it does get a bit sticky, you can just put a little bit of makeup remover on, or just wash your hands with gauze. This is the bruise and abrasion wheel. So we're just sort of simulating a second degree burn here, so that it's burnt down through your tissue and it's sort of going into your fat. First degree burn, you could just get away with a tegaderm and just put the red on top of it, and then if you wanted to, just pick it up with tweezers. You know, like when you get sunburn and it starts to peel back and underneath it, skin's still white. It'll look a bit funny because Sarah's still got blood dripping down her arm, but we'll address that. Just go in with the red. You might get these things if you make the kids up, you might want a day off school. And then you go in with red. It's just a dabbing motion rather than a dragging motion, because if you drag, you're going to sort of drag the wax off as well. And then just around the bottom of the wax, just to make it look a little bit more 3D, just inside the wound, just go in with this sort of browny burgundy colour. And then you can just sort of see when Sarah moves her arm around, when I've finished, that it sort of makes those lumps of burnt skin sort of come to the surface a bit more visually. I'm just going to put some black in, as if that's sort of the skin start to die off underneath a bit. Okay, now we could leave it there. It's just a quick drive-by burn, as we would say, or you can add water-based lubricant. Because in a fresh burn you get that sort of exudate coming to the surface, so this will give you sort of a shinier surface. And this is really good for sweat. Okay. Sweat, tears, clear mucus. You could have this dripping out somebody's ear and somebody with a head injury, and it could simulate CSF. And that just seems to, I don't know, it just seems to give a little bit more depth to the colours. I mean, it's only a quick one, I'm sure we all delight to be better. And then we've got what's called charcoal powder. And we'd normally have some ripped clothing or some open top clothing, just so that wasn't out on its own, because you'd think, oh, she'd have to lean there for a long time, but. And then we just add some soot in. There you go. What do you think?
Yeah,
Just need to hear the squeeze now.
Gravelly and
Like you say, with a ripped cinch jumper.
Yeah.
And that peeking out of it.
Yeah. You know, and I suppose if we use this as Sarah's sleeve, you know, and she came in with this on top and just went, ooh. You know. And because it's just on top of the tegaderm, it should stay there all day really. And then when we've had enough, we just take it off. And we can use it again, or
Shall we take it off to show
Yeah.
them that they can reuse it?
yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, it's got lube on it. And we've just got cheap facial wipes to just take it off. So you could put that on a bit of laminated card, pop it on your mannequin, and then put another tegaderm over the top if you wanted, and then just put some more lube on or a bit more soot, and then you're ready to go.
Do you have a laminated card out?
Can you use my file? I do. And the how-to burns.
Gotta be careful with falling off.
It's good for a couple of rows.
Yeah.
If you use the Vaseline cornflour to make
Mhm.
waxy, does that
Yeah.
go off? Though, as opposed
It'll
to-
go off after a few days. But if ever you wanted to do anything with like gelatin effects at home, that goes mouldy after a week in the fridge. But obviously, we just wanted to sort of show you a couple of tricks that you could do that were cheap, that were easy, you know, that might spur you on to bigger things.
So you guys are gonna get a little chance to practice.